Hi, everyone. This is Rich Berliner from Digital Locations, and we're here today with Althaf Azeez. Thank you for being with us today
It's a
from
pleasure.
Oregon State. And tell us a little bit about your background. Your education was mostly in India, correct?
That's right. So I did my undergrad in electrical electronics engineering. Then I had did my master's in control system and instrumentation, and later I did my PhD in um algorithm development for a GNSS system which India has currently in orbit, which is Navik. So based on that, right now I'm pursuing my postdoc research in using GNSS for flood forecasting and monitoring so that we can warn communities when there is a rising tide. We are also involved in a project where in case GNSS kind of jammed or drops off, how does the UAV market can depend on the signal of opportunity like the 4G LTE towers, which are abundant in the city, so that use of UAV for package delivery can be proliferated. So these are some of the projects that we are working on.
Right. So interesting. Let's break that down. India has the GNSS system, and it's used to warn people about all kinds of different things. So basically, I would think that you're a certainly a proponent and supporter of the fact that satellite can be very important to use in terms of communicating with people all over the world. And can you explain how it's used right now to warn people? Does it communicate with a central organization that then warns people? Does it go directly to mobile phones? How does it communicate and warn people of impending problems?
Thank you for the question. Just before I answer that, a small change in terminology. Even though GNSS is kind of an umbrella term for any constellation which provides positioning, and the India system, Navik comes under that, but Navik doesn't serve the whole globe as of now. It's kind of a regional navigation satellite system where the system is designed so that India and its power of influence those areas if that signal is kind of reachable. So it is not available globally as of now. So
Right,
it may not be technically called a GNSS, but it's more of a regional navigation system.
right.
With regard to Navik, the primary purpose, as for any GNSS system, is providing position to anyone on or above the surface of the Earth. So that it provides well. Um, but then it also has additional capabilities like India has a large coastline, and marine or fisheries is a big industry in India. But during the monsoon season, even other times, there are a lot of storms and weather events which kind of put people's life, the fishermen's life, in danger. A Navik system internally has some sort of a messaging system where from the satellites, a control center can know where the cyclone is, and it can upload that information to all the 7 Navik satellites in orbit. And the Navik satellites can then beam that message. There are a lot of message types. In one of the type, it can beam that information. So anyone with a capable Navik receiver who is out in the ocean can receive this message, and they can try to be out of the danger zone. So that
Gotcha.
is
So,
one.
so a Navic satellite, the constellation, and I understand. Thank you for correcting me. The Navic satellite constellation is just for India or regional. It's a regional system, and so I get that. But you need a Navic receiver to be able to get that signal that there's some kind of weather event or whatever it might be. Um, how do you see the ability potentially for those Navic satellites to be able to broadcast like we do here in the United States? We do those TV tests. We have that horrible, annoying tone in the middle of the night telling you this was a test of the emergency broadcast system. So, what if that Navic system was able to go and warn people directly to their phones rather than just to a Navic receiver? Does that something that's possible in your view? Not currently, of course, not with the excuse me, not with the current technology that exists, but in the future and the kind of research we're doing, would that benefit all the Navic users to be able to get those messages directly?
Great. Before I answer that question, I think the coverage of Navic actually extends slightly beyond India's own borders, where I think from the west, I think the Arabian Peninsula, like Saudi Arabia, from that till Singapore, like east-west coverage, and the north and south would be like having some parts over China and some parts over Sri Lanka. That would be the north to south coverage.
Right. So it's
So
super regional, sort of.
yeah, where the Indian majority of the Indian diaspora also lives, and we have some sort of interest in those regions. So Navik was designed keeping that in mind. So it is not only in India, but also in other countries where we have. And I think Navik is, so it's an open signal. So anyone with a capable receiver can receive that signal in any other country as well in the vicinity of India. So that's just a detail I thought I should mention that. The question that you asked, like the emergency message or any sort of a message that could be transmitted, can it be received in a mobile phone? Indian Space Research Organization has made a lot of progress in commercializing Navik, in a sense that most of the current phones, they have RF front ends which can take in GPS L1 and L2 primarily. And because the Europe system Galileo also uses these frequencies, it kind of simplifies a lot of things in terms of hardware simplicity when it comes to mobile phone manufacturers.
Right. So the Navic system is in LEO orbit.
Yeah, so that is also an important point. So that I can answer this question, we need to understand the frequencies in which Navik transmits its
That's
navigation
important.
message.
Yeah.
As I said earlier, the current mobile phones has L1 RF front end, so that it can receive that signal. Navik, however, works in L5 and S band. Ideally, one frequency should be enough to provide a decent navigation accuracy. But we have a second frequency also for every constellation. In Navik case, it is L5 and S band, so that the delays in ionosphere is kind of mitigated, because ionosphere error is inversely proportional to the frequency square of the signal
Can
that
you
we are
equate
transmitting.
those frequencies to megahertz frequencies like the US based? In other words, here we use 800, 900 megahertz for basic cellular. Then now we've auctioned off 3.5 meg for use in cellular. We've got a number of different frequencies that we use for cellular communications terrestrially. Can you equate what you're using in India to those sort of frequency bands here in the US?
Sure. Most of the GNSS constellation, the frequency band is kind of standard because that is the L band frequency is kind of it can penetrate the atmosphere even during rainy seasons. So that's why that band is kind of chosen. So Navik works on L5. Even GPS has L5 frequency. So the first question that you asked, which is like, can the message from Navik can reach cell phones so that all the people can be warned ahead rather than having a separate receiver? So based on the media reports, I did see that ISRO had a kind of an MOU with Xiaomi, who makes us phones, and they have this chip which can come into the future phones, which can receive Navik signal. So even if one frequency like L5 or S, the chances of S getting integrated into a mobile phone would be difficult because it is a standalone frequency used only by Navik. But I see a lot of scope for the L5 frequency to get integrated in mobile phones, because GPS also have a civilian signal in L5, which is really accurate compared to L1 signal. So I see L5 coming into mainstream mobile phones in near future.
Right.
If that is the case, I'm sure we could decode the Navik message in every cell phone which is equipped with an L5 RF front end.
Right. So what we're working on is expanding, not just take an urgent message or a text or even voice. We're working on getting to the point where we're working the antennas on the satellites and in the mobile phone and the chipsets that go along with it to be able to enable you to do high-speed internet. So our issue is we think that there are some things that are going on experimentally with short message, text, a little bit of voice, but what's missing is sort of the ability to have high-speed internet to that. So, opening up the world to people who don't have terrestrial cellular coverage at this point in time. And we know it's a tough problem. Again, there's a lot going on with the university that we're working with Florida International in terms of testing and working on, which is going to provide the best solutions, the most, the quickest in terms of either the device or on the satellite side. But, our goal is to get high-speed internet to everyone on the planet in that setting. So your experience with Navic is important. And I think you're right, there may be opportunities for short message warning of that nature. Our goal is to go past that to get to high-speed internet and high-speed data to those phones using potentially existing constellations or new constellations.
I can actually give a case study which I actually followed. So when I was studying a lot of the subjects which require some background knowledge taught from good teachers. So when I was looking for content online in YouTube, I could get the Stanford videos and MIT videos from India. And I attended courses on linear algebra from Professor Gilbert Strang. He's very famous. So I thought access to that content really gave me a strong background to understand what I was going to do. Without that, imagine I tried to look for books. I search for books, read the reviews, read a couple of chapters, and then I lose interest because the book was not nice.
Right.
Those uncertainties were totally removed because I had access to YouTube and very good material from MIT and Stanford. There are even better materials for in other subjects from an Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. So all these things shouldn't happen. So the reason why I said access to internet is knowledge is precisely that it kind of bridges the space problem, like you are in a different country, access to knowledge is in a different country. The medium to consume, because it's high-speed internet can provide you at least minimum 720p video. So learning from a video lecture is more realistic compared to just learning from a PDF or an audio podcast, because the visual factor comes into picture. A professor is explaining on the board. Without high-speed internet, we cannot stream a video. So that's why high-speed internet this will actually become a right of human beings going forward.
So we're here today with Althaf Azeez from Oregon State. Althaf, thank you so much for being here and talking with me today. You couldn't have hit the nail on the head any better in what we're trying to accomplish in saying things like the internet, high-speed internet is the key to knowledge. And so I thank you so much for being with me on the show today. And hopefully we can do version 2 of this and continue and talk more about it. But thank you for joining me.